I'm really excited today. So we've got a client touring some loft style apartments. She lives in a really cool loft right now in Cedars. And she's looking to move. She's been there for 3 years. Her renewal rate's going up, and she's just looking for something a little bit more affordable. So really, she wants to stay under like 1,900 a month for a big studio, open concept. She really likes the industrial style. So we're going to be touring two different loft style buildings in the city today, one of which I've never been to. It's always been on my radar, but it's a very small little boutique style community in the Expo Park area that is growing very, very rapidly, especially with, the World Cup coming to Dallas and, them opening more soccer teams. And in the Fair Park development, Expo Park is starting to become more of a thing. So I'm really excited to show you guys that one. And then we're going to go toward the Deep Ellum Lofts. That's basically what they're called. It makes up 6 different buildings that all lease out of the same leasing office. And so pretty much when you're in Deep Ellum, that company owns everything. Their headquarters is there. They own a bunch of loft buildings. They even own some of the retail spaces. So it's just a really cool environment. I've been to several of their communities before, and I love them all. And the cool thing about lofts is that they're all just unique in their own way, right? Like, there are some floor plans that are similar to others, but for the most part, every single unit is slightly different in some way. And so you're always getting a one-of-one. And that aligns perfectly with me right now because I really want to live in a loft. I've been telling my fiance for the longest time that when our lease is up at our current place, that I have to move into a loft because it could potentially be our last lease before we buy. And I've never been able to live those like city loft dreams, so I've always wanted to have just like a dope loft, have plants and the natural light and all of the things. So this is also me kind of secretly shopping for myself, even if we aren't moving for like another 10 months. I'm really excited to just showcase Deep Ellum for what it actually is. Like I said before, depending on who you talk to here, you're going to get a completely different experience of what Deep Ellum actually is. And I think a lot of that just has come down to what you're used to and where you're from. What I find is that like a lot of clients like myself, like I'm originally from St. Louis, so Midwest clients, like if you're from Cleveland, Chicago, St. Louis, Kansas City, or if you're from the East Coast cities, so New York, Boston, DC, any of those, you're probably going to get to Deep Ellum and laugh. Like, you're going to be like, this is not nearly as bad as anything that y'all say. And so I think you do have to take it a little bit from a grain of salt. Like my clients from the West Coast, or even some of my clients that are originally born and raised in DFW, I think they just have a different standard for what neighborhoods are supposed to feel like. They typically come from places where ownership is a really big thing, and they want an acre of land, sometimes more. They want a big backyard, they want green grass. And so I think being from the Midwest and some of the East Coast, we're used to cities that are a bit older, a bit more character, that are condensed down, very walkable, the brownstone, the brick. And so I think if you're moving from one of those areas, you're going to get to Deep Ellum and honestly probably enjoy it a lot more than you think, even if you don't want to live there. All right, so we are here. I'm about to pull up to the property now. And yeah, I'm really excited about this, guys. I've been wanting to go tour this place for the longest. They have some really cool units, specifically split levels. And sometimes you can find split levels at a really affordable price here, which is, that's a hard thing to say in Dallas. On our first stop, this 995 square foot sort of convertible style, soft loft style loft, it was listed at $1,798 a month. What I love most about this unit is the layout. I think you've got very definitive space between the living room and the kitchen and the bedroom. Because you've got actual dividing walls, create very natural separation. It's much more of a floor plan that most people are used to. And the bathroom is also massive. It's got a huge vanity. It's got tons of storage. And all of these units are going to come with washer and dryer connections in the building. And if you need to rent a set, you can rent one through the community for an extra $50 a month. So it's a pretty easy. They'll do full delivery and install on move-in. And so I think for the price and the, overall square footage, this is a really good unit for most people. So on my way to the second property, and unfortunately it started pouring down raining. I was really hoping this wasn't going to be the case, but I'm still going to have to show y'all the day. So we toured the very first building. Loved it. But now we're going to go toward the Deep Ellum Lofts. So we should be touring 2 buildings today. They have like the Deep Ellum Lofts, and then they also have the Adam Hats building. Now the Deep Ellum Lofts are made up of like 6 different buildings. They all lease out of the same office, all managed by the same company. And so I love taking clients there because you just get to choose from like 6 or 7 different buildings between downtown and the Deep Ellum area. So they're usually always going to have something for you. So we are on the way to the Adam Hats building, and I'm going to show you that one. That one's really cool because they have some very unique floor plans. So we also checked out another unit in the exact same building for my client, but she wasn't the biggest fan of it. It was just a very big open concept style loft, and I'll be honest, it was a little quirky. I could definitely see it working for the right person, but there wasn't really a lot of clear separation between the bedroom and the kitchen especially, but obviously somebody liked it because over the weekend somebody ended up leasing it. So even though we didn't love it, someone else did, and that's just what you get in Deep Ellum, and especially when you're just looking for lofts in general. There's going to be a lot of units that you tour and you actually fall in love with them, and there's going to be a lot of stuff that you tour and you're like, this just isn't for me. And what I find with lofts, even more so than regular apartments, because they can all be a little unique and a little quirky, typically the really cool ones, they go very quick. All right, so we just finished touring that unit and I really love that property. But one of my favorite things about that property is that you just get a lot of features that kind of just all coexist at the same time. So they have some really spacious units that are, 1,200 square feet. You can get some high ceilings. You can get a lot of concrete versus exposed brick, but you also get a lot of windows, and the windows do open, which I know is a big thing for loft people. They open kind of horizontally, and you get great views and natural light. The unit that I'm going to show you guys is a downtown facing unit. It's around 1,100 square feet. I loved the second building that we went to. This is technically a different community, still within Deep Ellum, because again, they all lease out of the same leasing office. There's about 6 different properties in the neighborhood that you can choose from, but I loved it. It was over 1,200 square feet, and it was listed around $2,300 a month. But it was a huge space. You got a huge open concept layout, like a true, like you can make the space however you want. High ceilings, they have industrial pillars in all the corners. When you walk in, you just get hit in the face with like these big open windows and the Dallas skyline in the background, and you're really paying premium for that view. What I loved about this unit is how long that it was, because it just gives you a lot of creative freedom to put a bedroom, a desk, the living room space, really divvy it up however you want. And so this is the kind of loft that's for somebody that knows what they are looking for and is truly ready to just take a blank canvas and turn it into whatever they want. And I also did like that this one had a little bit more of like the upgraded finishes as well. Now, this is going to be the last unit that I toured with this client. It's at a different community altogether. This unit is going to be in the Expo Park neighborhood, which is starting to become a huge thing here in Dallas. We toured a few different lofts in this community, but I really could only picture this one for you because my client hated the first one, and the very last one was a really cool split level, but it wasn't completely turned over. There was stuff and construction work everywhere, so I was not going to show that. But this one was 1,150 square feet on the second floor. It was $1,750 a month, which is a really good price for that amount of space in Deep Ellum. And I really liked that this one was a little bit less industrial, so wood floors, high ceilings. This one did have washer and dryer connections in the unit. Now, I will say that the appliances were a little bit dated. The property has different tiers of renovations, so some feel a little bit older than others, but they have units on this property that have full appliances packages with stainless steel and granite countertops and that sort of thing. So they really do have something for everyone. But really what sold me on the community was the community itself. A lot of their amenity spaces were just gorgeous. The courtyards were some of the most beautiful that I've ever seen. I mean, they had like vines and trees and flowers everywhere. While I was going through it, I was feeling like I was at the Dallas Arboretum and not even an apartment complex. And Expo Park is really becoming its own little sub-neighborhood of Deep Ellum. It's kind of down the street around the corner, so you're away from the club scene, but you're still close to all the entertainment and the restaurants in that neighborhood. And you've got legit dining and bar options right next door. They're opening a new matcha bar called Hyphen Space. They already have a little pop-up that they do on the street, but they're opening a full build-out location that's got a lot of people excited. You've got Whiskies, which is a really cool Black-owned lounge bar, which hence the name. They only sell whiskey-inspired cocktails. They have one of my favorite old-fashions. They have a mezcal bar, they've got some dive bars, and they have a very high-end restaurant that's opening sometime soon. The leasing agent couldn't give me much details because she's under an NDA, but she did say they might be trying to push to get a Michelin star, which is awesome because that means there is real development behind Expo Park. And there's a lot of development around the Fair Park area in general, as you've got, some professional soccer teams moving to that area to, set up the Cotton Bowl Stadium is like their home base. You got a lot of residential development around Fair Park. Like Dallas is putting a lot of money into revitalizing those neighborhoods around there. All right, guys, so we're here in Deep Ellum. The tours went pretty good overall. There were some things that my client loved. There were some things that she hated. She's not moving until July, and so sometimes, especially with loft units, because all of these units can be very unique, it's really best to start looking about 45 days out. If you want to start browsing properties 60, 90 days, I think that's totally fine. Even if you go tour, it's not the worst thing in the world, but just know that you're touring to get an idea of more so the property and the style, as opposed to attaching yourself to specific units. Because if you try to go tour 60 days out, they probably aren't going to have very many units that you can move into 2 months later. But if you go tour 45 days out, most of the units for your time frame should be on the market because people will have given notices. And it's going to make it a lot smoother process if you are one of those people who, like, when you go tour, you're touring because you're trying to lease. But now we're here in Deep Ellum, so I'm going to show you guys a little bit of the neighborhood. I'm about to grab a bite to eat at one of my favorite sandwich shops, which is called Cheaper Hut. It's a really, really fire sandwich shop restaurant. I'm gonna, check it out. All right, so I had a little bit of a change of heart. I decided to go to Hawker's instead. It's kind of like an American, Chinese, Asian cuisine. I really like it. It's very tapas style, so I'm gonna have to pick and choose very nicely, but I love Asian food, so if I have the choice between that and anything else, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna go with the Asian spot. All right, guys, so I'm here back at the same property I was at earlier today. Today we are going to be checking out one of my client's units. So he moved into this unit August of last year. So he's coming up almost with a year being there, with us being in May. And seems like he really, really likes it. He's finally to the point where he's, decked it out to the point that he wanted to be. And this is a past client that I had worked with in the past. He sent me his cousin as a referral. So at this point, I'm trying to lease the whole family, but he really just told me he wanted to get in his creative bag and, kind of step away from the tech industry, start doing more of his own thing. And he just wanted like a cool, unique city loft to, kind of energize that creative spirit and that creative mind that he has. So he hit me up, and I think this is like the only building that we ended up touring for him. And he pretty much toured one loft and ended up leasing that exact same loft like 2 days later. So it worked out perfectly, better than it even could. And so I'm really excited to show you guys his unit because there's another influencer. He mostly posts on like TikTok, but his unit goes viral all the time. Well, my client basically leased the exact same floor plan, just on the opposite side of the building. So it's a really cool corner unit, lots of natural light. It's a huge space, like over 1,000 square feet. So it's gonna be a really good unit for you guys to check out. And he got it for a steal. I think his rent is around $2,000 base before additional fees. So we're just gonna talk to him to get his thoughts on the unit, how he likes it, you know, if there's anything that he wish he had done differently, and you know, just that overall.
So the question was, what made me choose this?
And maybe a better question would be, why did you want a loft?
Okay, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, I came to you, Xavier, and you gave me a lot of options when it comes to apartments, but I just wanted something that was just an open space, something that was like a blank canvas that I could create and build up on my own, you know, kind of just make it a canvas for my mind. And you would send me things and I would tell you, oh, this didn't work out, or these windows wouldn't open, small things like that. But one day you randomly hit me up and said, Sammy, I think we found the one for you. And I said, all right, let's go ahead, tour this place. And I'm not kidding. As soon as we walked in, I was like, yep, this is it. This is the spot. So I appreciate you for helping me out with that.
Very good. You kind of answered this earlier, but like, what would you say is like the true like day-to-day experience of like living in a loft, but also living in Deep Ellum? Like no cookie cutters, like just your honest thoughts.
Yeah, I will say it's a very unique experience living in a loft in Deep Ellum. One thing that I do love is the walkability. There's a lot of options for you to do things out here, whether it's food, bars, lounges, events. My day-to-day personally, I wake up, I go down the street to Merit Coffee, grab me a nice cold brew, come back here, do a little bit of work. And then after work, I usually either go to the gym or I ride my bike throughout various parts of Dallas, whether it be Katy Trail, White Rock Lake, Bishop Arts. But yeah, I just love the accessibility to everything. That's what I love about living here in Deep Ellum. When it comes to the loft specifically, I know one of the main things that I mentioned I wanted in a space is a lot of natural light. So I love that this loft in particular is just covered in windows, and I have the freedom to be able to see sunlight, moonlight, rain, snow, and I just love being exposed to the elements like that. One thing that I do not like, or I'm still getting adjusted to, is the rowdy nature of Deep Ellum itself. So the weekends it gets rowdy. Obviously it's Deep Ellum, but during the weekdays I would say it's pretty calm. I love being in the mix of things. I love being in the heart of the city, and just being able to be surrounded by that and enjoy it.
I got a follow-up question to that. So when you say rowdy, is it like so rah-rah that you feel like you can't even like sleep, or is it like, I guess like if on a scale from like one to rowdy, the rowdiest, yeah, like where would you say it like actually is? Because that's always like a thing.
I mean, I would say it really depends on the weekend. There are various weekends where certain holidays are happening. You know, obviously, if it's something big, like a big game that's happening, or New Year's even, there's a lot of traffic in this area. When it comes to that scale, 1 through most rowdy, I'll give it, you know, on average a 7 out of the rowdiest. There have been nights where I wasn't able to sleep. Like, just because I live, you know, next to numerous bars, obviously there's drunk pedestrians and people that are being super loud, but I feel like you get used to it. You know, you get used to it. You might have to buy some earplugs here and there, but you'll be all right.
Like, how much do you actually pay for rent?
So I pay $20.90 for rent. That is with a 15-month lease term. I do that expense also comes with a rented washer and dryer, which adds an additional $50 a month to the rent. So in total, $20.90.
How much do you usually pay for like additional expenses like utilities and like anything like that?
You know, I feel like that kind of answers your other question. What surprised me the most is utilities for a large space like this with a lot of windows, and you're living in Texas. I mentioned earlier, you are exposed to the elements, so you do feel the heat, you do feel the cold, which makes you want to use your heater and AC. So during the hot summer months, during the cold winter months, I blast my heat, I blast my AC, and when it comes to utilities, I have seen months where I've seen $200 a month when it comes to utilities. So on average, I would say around $200 for utilities when it comes to like electricity. AC is being the biggest expense. I would say, you know, right now there is a big trend online of people looking for lofts or loft spaces being romanticized. But I feel like there's a lot of responsibility when it comes to living in a loft. You can't just come in and show up and expect it to, oh, I'm in a loft now, right? You have to be very meticulous and very intentional with things that you put in your loft. I've worked with a lot with AI to kind of design my space, you know. So, you know, I gave Claude my floor plan and said, hey, I have this loft. These are the things that are important to me. How can I make it fit in the space? And I feel like a lot of people don't really utilize AI in that sense. So whenever if you are looking for a loft, make sure you're intentional about why you're moving in there and how you want to move your particular items in that space. Don't just go to a loft just to go to it, or if you're barely going to be in it, right? But yeah, that's my answer.
What was your overall experience like working with me?
I just want to say shout out to Xavier, man. A lot of patience, I'll say that. Number one, me, I'm a very, very picky person. You can ask all my friends. When it comes to a lot of things in my life, I'm very picky and peculiar. And I just want to say shout out to you for just being really patient with me, really understanding what I wanted out of a space that I want to live in. And you were able to check all the boxes of all the things that I wanted in a space that I want to live in. So I appreciate you for that.
All right, guys. So it's finally 6 o'clock. Tired. It's been a long day of showings and content and all the things, but I truly love what I do, and I've had a great day. Like, this has been one of the best days I've had in weeks. Not only did I just have an awesome day with clients, past clients, the whole nine, but also I get to show you guys what I do, and I really do love this. So help your boy out. Like, comment, subscribe, follow the channel for more day in the life vlogs. And if you are moving to Dallas or anywhere in the DFW for that matter, whether you're looking to buy or rent, I would love to help you on your search, make the whole process just that much easier. And until next time, guys, take it easy. Peace.